His association with the band prior to '58 was primarily review work then and preparing for that annual fall show. But he did do some marching arrangements occasionally for Oakley Pittman's band, did he not?
Yeah, but they were scattered stuff, and it wasn't anything like we were doing. You know, they were different. So he was glad to get to the jazz deal, Let It Fly, and he'd done the Pigskin Review, the stuff that they did in the first half. And of course, that was a lot of sororities and stuff like that, accompaniment deals, you know. And then Oakley took over the last half of the Pigskin Review, so that eliminated any music from there, you know.
One of the things I remember about Jack is the shirt that he wore at every Pigskin Review. All the rehearsals, all getting ready for the show, all during the week of Pigskin. That shirt was part of Jack, and it was part of Pigskin Review lore.
No question about it. And Jack wanted to be buried in that shirt. And of course, his wife didn't know it. But it was my mistake. I should have told her to bury him in that shirt. I thought she knew it. But God bless his old soul. Jack was a typical musician. He lived for the day that he could finish a job real well and be acclaimed for it. And he did a good job, period. Jack was a very good arranger.
He was a very good arranger, and you know, you could tell every arrangement because there were cigarette burns on almost every part and on the score, because he smoked all the time when he wrote.
And we kidded him about his hinge scratchings.
His hinge scratches and putting the key signature on every line for those of us that really kind of enjoyed that. What an original idea.
Yeah, occasionally probably a bottle of Pearl had been.
Yeah, there were always some rings on the paper too. You're exactly
What was that?
right,
He used to
Bert.
say, he said, I'm going out for lunch, going to have a Pearl sandwich.
Pearl sandwich.
Just a bottle of Pearl between two pieces of bread. That was it.
Well, Jack fought with his health from time to time, and one of the things I remember when he was not feeling well is he would declare that he was going to go home and have a peanut butter and Vic sandwich and go to bed.
And half time he didn't go to bed.
He was a great writer, though.
I never will forget, I asked Jack, I said, now Jack, wear a suit. Well, let's wear a tie and a shirt to office. He said, I quit. That's all there is to it. I quit. I said, okay, forget the tie. How about a clean shirt? I'll buy that.
What I remember, Coach, is when you wanted him to write a Charlie Pride tune, and I can't remember the title of it. I ought to be able to.
It was
And
a
he-
tune Pride was making at that time.
He
remember?
really didn't want to do it.
Oh,
too.
no.
You and he went back and forth on that Charlie Pride tune.
And you could tell in his arrangement if he had to do it, it wasn't worth a hoot. You just throw it out the window.
Well, and as I recall, the day that after he did do it, and you did, and the guys had it, and they read it, everybody tore up their music and wadded up and threw it at you, or at Jack won. Anyway.
You know, I remember once on the bus, I saw Jack write an arrangement, and I guess I was probably, I don't know, maybe a junior by then. Literally write an arrangement without a score. He sat there and wrote, started with the clarinet parts or flute parts, what it was, and just wrote the whole thing across. First trumpet, second trumpet. I said, how in the world are you doing
He did
that?
that real well.
He said, well, what do you mean, how do I do it? I said, I hear it. If I hear it, I can write it. But he was amazing. And thank goodness, you know, I had not only a lot of your music at my disposal when I was teaching, but true to style, when I first took South Oak Cliff, and before Stan was in the band, and my first spring, I said, I got to do one of those shows. Of course, the choir teacher didn't like that, but I called Jack Rohr, and we went on for 15 years. So we just kept doing Pigskin Reviews.
There's nothing wrong with that. Jack had a famous saying. We'd listen to some tune sometime, and I say, Jack, do you really like that tune? He said, no, that's winter music. And I said, what's winter music? He said, you burn it when it gets cold.
That's a
Yeah.
great Jack story I never
Yeah.
heard. That's a good one. Yeah, when I was at Lake Highlands, he wrote us 3 halftime shows. He wrote an Over the Rainbow song show, and he wrote a Western show for us. It was really, really good.
Oh,
So
he gets with it.
he was just a great arranger. And when he got a good idea, like Butch said, he could just almost literally write it down right then because he could hear the whole
He
thing.
was always so grateful, though, when Hope came, he didn't have to do the arrangements for it. Because we always sent the Les Brown charts in. Right. And I'll tell you now, that was a challenge. For to send those Les Brown charts in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon with the show that night.
We did that.
We had to rehearse those Les Brown tunes and have them ready for Hope that night. And the best thing I ever had happen to me in my life is that Hope came on the Moody Coliseum show. And he says, I'm going to do This Is My Town. Oh, yes, Big D, yes. This is my town. He said, I don't have the words with me dry, but tonight I'll have them. Let's go through the music so we be sure we got that right. Well, we went through the music. He said, fine, Men in Red. I'll be ready for it tonight. I'll have the words. Got to the show that night, and here we go. Give him the introduction. He said, this is my town. Oh, yes, Big D is. This is my town. I left the words at the hotel again. Yes, they keep going. And I'm telling you, this is my town. Oh, yes. And he made the whole lyrics up of that whole song. And he finished it in, and it's not your fault. Point out me. I said, thank you, Mr.
Coach, why don't you go ahead and let us all know again how SMU and Bob Hope and you and the band all managed to work together?
Well, of course, you know, Hope was kidnapped by the cheerleaders in 1949 when Doak Walker was here. He was down here speaking at a session down at the hotel, and they got the idea, let's bring Hope to the ball game. So they went out and captured him that night and kept him all night and entertained him and brought him to the ball game the next day. And he just took hold of the pony some way. He loved it. And so from there on in, Fred Bryson, who was in part of the university, was sent to kind of nurture the situation between Hope and the university because it's a school of fine arts. And Kermit Hunter, God bless his soul, was not a public relations man on that kind. Good public relations man, but not that kind. So they got him to come in and build the Bob Hope Theater. And boy, when he did that, he played the first show, and he got to know me from that thing. It was outdoors, just being completed, hot, about 100 degrees. He was sweating up there. He'd look at me, and I'd look at him. And get this damn thing over with, you know. We tried as hard as we could. Anyway, then got to know him. And then through the other shows, we'd got to know him. And every time we'd play a show, he always had something good or something to say. Then we went to Al Meadows' house one night, and some guy made a pass at my second wife at Al Meadows' house, and Hope heard it. And he turned to this guy and says, you dope you, what are you doing as a guest of this house? And the guest said, get out of here. Now that's how defensive he was. And to take up, you know, he didn't have to say anything about it.
Right.
But he knew that she was my wife. And he was just trying to protect the situation from Al Meadows. It was his home, you know. And he was just something else. And you'd hear from him. And Dolores tried to take hold of being a part of that, but she was strictly Catholic. And, of course, he'd go Catholic deal, too. But that's how it came about. And I think he'd done a lot more if he'd lived longer.
I always wondered. I thought
he
that he probably would, too.
And Fred Bryson had a real good relationship with him.
Rapport with him, didn't he?
And he loved the band. And they said, well, we'll get a union band. I want Dry's band. And we played in the Hope Theater too, and Rusty Meadow was the piano player. And we did the show, and he had all these press cards, you know, in there where he was reading all the script all the time. And he looked down that thing. Move that card over, like that. And he was really struggling at this type of thing. And Rusty, he says, hey, Rusty, can you play this tune? Rusty said, sure I can. So let's sing it. So he just got out that way, just sang the tune with Rusty playing on. He said, You got your good piano player here, Dry. I said, I know it.
That's great.
Yeah, I was in that band.
Yeah, you remember that?
I do remember it.
That's a real evening, wasn't it?
It was just a great experience to be in that band and to start playing Thanks for the Memories and look up there on that stage and see Bob Hope walk out.
Oh, yeah.
That was thrilling just by itself.
Oh, sure, no question. And then when he appeared at the Cotton Bowl with us out there, I was going to be a bright boy, you know, big shot. Going to play the NBC theme for him. Beam, bom, bom, beat up. He turned to me and said, NBC is not the only one I ever want to be on. Cut that out. Well, enough of the humor.